I'm Cara Di Falco, and this is Thanksgiving Cucina style. We are going to be continuing by making homemade apple pie. You want anywhere from 6 to 8 apples. I have 7 here, and you're gonna wanna use a mix. So I have Max, Golden Delicious, these I think are Gala, and I always throw a Granny Smith in mine just to have a nice balance of flavors. A half cup of sugar, a little pinch of salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove, as well as flour. We're gonna finish everything off with just a little bit of butter, and we've got those pie crusts that we made in part 1. Pie crusts, just leave these out for a few minutes so they start to come to room temperature, and in the meantime, we're gonna start peeling and cutting up our apples. This recipe I have been making since I was a little girl. I've grown up making and eating this pie. We make it every year for Thanksgiving, depending on what's going on for Christmas. Sometimes we make it for that as well. It's a classic, it's a family favorite, and I hope it becomes one for you guys too. The most difficult part of making an apple pie is literally just peeling and cutting up the apples. So I'm just using a vegetable peeler, doing my very best to kind of get it all off in one strand. Doesn't always work that way, it doesn't have to. So when I prep my apples for apple pie, I like to use 2 different knives. I use the big Mama Jamma just to quarter them, and then I just find it easier to manipulate a smaller knife to take the cores out. And then we just wanna cut these into small bite-sized pieces. And they are gonna go into our bowl. With all your apples prepped, now we're gonna season them by adding in our sugar, spices, and flour. Mix it up good. Once all your apples are coated, you can set these aside. So whether you're using homemade crust or store-bought, you do want to let it come to room temperature. That's going to let the butter soften a little bit so you can roll it out easily. There is no judgment here whether you use homemade or store-bought. You do you, boo. We're going to add some flour to our work surface. Get our first crust unwrapped. I usually just start with my hands because again, the heat from your hands will also help the butter soften a little bit. And then this way you kind of help avoid some of those cracks and splits. Once you've got it pretty flattened with your hands, you can start with your rolling pin and go in different directions. Do your best to keep it round. And don't forget to carefully flip it over now and again and add a little more flour so it doesn't stick. If you get a little crack like this, just again, remember, you can just kind of very gently press it together, smooth it out, it's gonna be okay. Once your first crust is rolled out big enough to fit your pie plate, you can actually use your rolling pin to help pick it up, especially if it's got these little cracks at the edges. I'm not too worried about those because I'm gonna wind up crimping them into the crust, but we can kind of gently pick it up like this and then roll it right on back out into the plate. And you just want to use your knuckle to kind of gently press it into the edge of the pie plate. Your bottom crust can go back in the fridge for just about 5 to 10 minutes so it firms up again. All right, top crust is rolled out, so now it's time to build our pie. So those apples that have been sitting with your cinnamon and sugar, they're gonna go into your base. Oh yeah, we always do like a super stuffed pie. Just want to use your spatula and make sure it's evenly distributed. And we're just going to dot the top of the pie with a little bit of butter, 4 or 5 little pats just like that. And we'll get our top crust. So this is why I don't worry about the very edges of the crust like cracking too much, because I'm just going to take my scissor and kind of trim both edges all the way around so that they're mostly even. You can kind of put your scraps back together, and if you want to make little decorations out of them, we used to do leaves and things like that. Otherwise, you're just going to take your crust and tuck the whole thing under and then give it a squeeze in between your first and second finger and your thumb. Just before you put the pie in the oven, you want to vent it so that the steam from the apples can get out. So I like to take my paring knife and I just do kind of a little starburst pattern. So just really simple lines, kind of in all 4 directions, and then you can go at an angle. This is gonna go in a 400-degree oven for 1 hour. Serve your apple pie after your Thanksgiving dinner or whenever you want one. Hot Mess Express. Don't take a picture of that, it looks terrible. Looks messy, tastes delicious. Don't forget, you can get my ultimate Thanksgiving ebook in the shop section of my website. I'll see you guys next time.